She said, I count at least 80 promises in the Bible that God promises to protect us from our enemies. I said, yes. She said, what's the deal with Job then? 80 promises, I'll protect you from your enemies, and then God admits in writing that he unleashed Satan on a man's entire life? And it wasn't like an innocuous thing. 10 children died. His wife, there's a whole big problem. It's not like, oh, this was a little minor back issue. This was God unleashing Satan on a man's entire life. So you have 80 promises God will protect you, and then an entire story that's 42 chapters long or whatever about God admitting, sometimes I don't protect you. As a matter of fact, sometimes I just let it happen because of a bar bet Satan and I made over whether someone will be faithful. Can you help me with that? Again, good question or bad question? That's a really good question. Now, of our three problems, static appropriation, genre confusion, and lack of understanding of history, what's the problem with that one? It's genre confusion. All I simply asked the girl was, I said, that's a great question. Here's my question. Is Job a history book? She said, I don't know. I hadn't thought of that. I said, that's okay. Is there a history section in the Old Testament? Yeah. What books are in there? She said, I don't know. I said, I'll help you, because I didn't want to embarrass her, right? I said, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, 1st Chronicles, 2nd Chronicles, Samuel's, Kings. These are the history books. I said, what section is Job in? She answered, the poetry section. I said, exactly. What's that tell you? She put her hands on her head. She said, it's a poem. I said, yes. How do we know Job's a poem? Because it's in the poetry section. And if I could point out, the book of Job starts out as a council meeting of the gods where God and Satan make a bar bet on somebody's life. Satan's like coming and going out of heaven. What's up, God? You know? Does that sound like historical narrative to you? It sounds like what? Poetry. Why? Because it's a poem. Job is a poem. How do we know that? It's in the poetry section. It's written by Jews who happened to be enslaved in Babylon under the authority of a guy named Nebuchadnezzar, which means what had they lost? Everything. Their health, their land, their kids, their jobs, their temple. Everything that mattered to them was lost. And what do you do when you lose everything? You write a poem to try to explain why. The poem Job, and you realize in the story, Israel is Job. Israel is identifying with this real character. By the way, Job is a real character. He's a real life person, lives in Muslim lore, Christian lore, Jewish lore. Here's what we know about him. He had a lot, he lost a lot, he got a lot back. The end. So they capture this based on a true story thing, and they wrap all of this poetry around it, trying to explain why bad things happen to good people. And it's supposed to be a comedy, by the way. Maybe bad things happen because God and Satan made a bar bet. People are supposed to laugh at that. That's ridiculous. And then you have 37 chapters of Bible experts giving their verses proving why this is happening. This is 37 chapters of the book of Job. Job, it's something you did. No, it's not. Job, it's something you did. No, it's not. Job, it's something you did. No, it's not. We might not think of it, but it is something you did. No, it's not. 37 chapters in, the God character shows up and agrees with Job. Says, actually, it's not something Job did. And suffering is not something to be intellectually understood. Suffering that tries to be intellectually understood invalidates the sufferer and the suffering. Suffering is an experiential thing that you need to have a profound trust in God to get through it. But in that profound trust, at some point, God restores everything back to you. That's Job.